Hi there. I just want to take a minute this morning to talk a little bit about something that you may have heard recently if you're part of the like cybersecurity interested group of people, or if you're a business owner or an owner of an organization. People have been talking about how cybersecurity is an operational risk. So I just kind of want to explain what that means. So as an organization, right, you have things that you do in order to make money, to generate revenue. One of those things you do, obviously, is to serve your customers. Whatever your organization's goal is, whatever it does, you serve customers, they pay you. In order to continue serving your customers, your technology needs to be functioning. For your technology to be functioning, you have to avoid cyber events. If you can't serve your customers, then that is a loss of revenue. Losing revenue in most people's mind would be an operational risk, right? You don't want to lose revenue. Nobody would want to lose revenue. How you serve your customers is basically how you protect your current customers. So these are people that you have right now. The other component of this is that as a company, you have a reputation. Your reputation is super important. Your reputation is the reason why people buy from you or the reason why people don't. Cyber events can lead to occurrences of reputation damage. That affects your future customers. That affects your ability to acquire new customers in the future. And bottom line is that affects your revenue as well. That affects your potential revenue generation in the future. Beyond that as well, your company likely has regulations and compliance that you have to follow with the data that you have, especially if you're in more sensitive industries or verticals. Things like healthcare is a great example, or if you're a government agency. This is protecting you, as an individual, but also as an organization. Regulations and compliance, have some pretty serious implications if you don't follow them in a lot of instances. Now, they're not always enforced to the highest degree, but it is absolutely necessary to follow those regulations and be compliant. If you work with government contractors, it's part of the military industrial base. That's also, that would be a major component for you as well. So really what you're doing is by investing in cybersecurity, you're protecting your revenue, you're protecting your reputation, and you're protecting yourself. This is why it's become so important. And with the rise of ransomware and with the rise of cyber attacks and cyber events, it becomes even more relevant, today than it was even a couple years ago before COVID went crazy. A quick graph for you here that just gives a little bit of a demonstration of cost versus value. This is pretty arbitrary, so don't take any of this as the end all be all. It's just an example of what is realistic. If you take no time to have cybersecurity controls, then sure, starting off, it's going to be a lot cheaper, right? You're not going to have any associated costs with it until an event occurs, until the big boom occurs. And then you have this huge spike in cost and a bunch of obvious and clearly stated costs in combination with a bunch of hidden costs too. And you also have to deal with the potential revenue loss in the future as a result of your reputation being damaged. If you are working within the realm of having cybersecurity controls, and obviously your costs will be higher to start with, but as time goes on, boom, big cyber event occurs. Okay, not that big of a deal, right? We had the proper regulations, we had the proper controls in place. We were able to prevent anything really from happening. We were able to detect it. Maybe you spend a little bit of money on some forensics and you try to analyze kind of how maybe they tried to get access. So that's what this little bump would represent. But then, business as usual operations continue. Even with this increased cost, if you associate these two graphs with each other, the cost of cybersecurity or not having any cybersecurity controls still greatly outweighs the cost of having cybersecurity. The reality is that a few years ago, you might have been able to get by without this boom ever occurring. In 2022, that's just really not the case anymore. So it is still possible that you can skate by, but it's definitely not the way that I would recommend to do it. And you're playing with fire for sure. So I hope that it helps explain a little bit about why people are saying, cybersecurity is an operational risk. And I hope that helps you out a little bit.